What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex. You are watching the Marvel edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things that matter to me in the world of Marvel films. This is episode number 17, and what we're going to do right now in this video is have my spoiler chat review for X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, I already did a spoiler-free review. If you haven't watched this, the movie, X-Men Days of Future Past, stop watching this video. And if you want to know how I felt about the movie, you can watch my spoiler-free review. Now, we're going to get into spoiler territory right now because I got a lot to talk about because I really love this film. And I got to tell you about some things that I really liked and a few things that I didn't really like, okay? So, first of all, let's start off with the fact that Bryan Singer is awesome for resetting the franchise. You know what? In a way, he kind of rebooted the franchise because all they were really doing after Brett Ratner screwed it up was make 2 solo Wolverine movies that weren't really part of the... I mean, in some ways, it's part of the X-Men timeline. And then, of course, in between the 2 Wolverine films, there was a First Class, which was a prequel. And by making a prequel, you're just kind of avoiding what happens next after Last Stand. It's kind of like no writer or director wants to tell the story after Last Stand took place simply because Brett Ratner screwed it up. And there's no way to really fix that. Well, here comes Bryan Singer, and he's undoing the damage that Brett Ratner did. And from this point on, X-Men Days of Future Past is where it all begins. All right, he just resets everything. You press the reset button, and fans are happy. All right, because now this is the point where we can actually. This is the part actually where Fox Studios, 20th Century Fox, can actually start their own little X-Men cinematic universe, like how Disney Studios has started their own Marvel cinematic universe back in 2007. This is the point. From this point on, they can start doing it, all right? And they're going to follow it with X-Men Apocalypse, all right? I can't wait for that, and I'm going to tell you more about X-Men Apocalypse later on. But first, I want to say that... I love that Magneto goes back to his roots of being evil. All right, you have James McAvoy, or rather Professor X and Wolverine recruiting him. Quicksilver goes out to save him. Speaking of which, that means Quicksilver is rescuing his father, which he doesn't know about. But anyways, they're not repeating what they did in First Class, and that is have Charles Xavier and Magneto or Eric be friends. All right, they save him, and then Magneto, he goes back to finding his finding his evil ways, and I love that little transition. You know, it's a brief transition, but then the whole time you feel like, oh man, he double crossed them after he saved them all, right? But you know it's coming, and I love how it happened because he is so evil. I mean, he takes Bolivar Trask's Sentinels and turns them against everybody. That was so epic, okay? So I love that. Another thing that I thought was awesome was Blink. You know what? When I first, was thinking about the concept of the Blink mutant character and her ability to create portals, I was thinking, okay, that's kind of weak. Okay, what is she really gonna do? She's just there to help, people transport. All right, she's there for transportation. She's there to help people get from point A to point B. But you know what? That's what it was like from the beginning of the movie. But when the Future Sentinels came, oh my God, that was so cool. Her ability was freaking awesome. I was like a fanboying. I was like having a total fanboy moment when she was throwing portals to make Sentinels like stab each other. It was so cool, man. I loved her character, and I hope we get to see more of her in X-Men Apocalypse. I hope, okay? Now, one thing that everybody wishes for, and can agree on, is that they wish they had more Quicksilver, okay? Quicksilver was so awesome. I love the fact that, they go and recruit him, and then they find him, they add him to the team, they get his help to get Magneto out, to break him out, and that sequence was so awesome. But then he disappears. They get on the jet, and they take off, and then you never see him again. In fact, we see him, okay? We see him watching the whole Sentinel battle, on a TV. And I was just thinking, please, please, please come back and help. Please come back and fight the Sentinels, alright? Because I want to see more of his abilities. Never happened. So that was a bit of a tease. I was very disappointed about that. But hey, at least the scene where he was like running around in the prison, the prison area or the kitchen, that was so epic. The best scene in the entire movie. All right, so very, very awesome. But unfortunately, we didn't get enough of him. Okay, but he totally stole the show. Now, what's very interesting is that there was a scene in the TV spots or trailers where it showed Logan meeting Quicksilver's sister, but that was never actually seen in the scene in the movie. They actually deleted that scene. It was a scene where Logan goes, "And who are you supposed to be?" And then she goes, "I'm a princess." And I was thinking the whole time, is that supposed to be Scarlet Witch? But then isn't Scarlet Witch supposed to be a twin, like Quicksilver's twin sister? So I don't really know. I don't know what that's all about. I mean, even if they included her in it, right? Isn't that supposed to be Scarlet Witch? But I always thought it was his twin sister. But anyways, I'm just throwing that out there. So one thing that I really, really love about time travel movies is that they bring a fictional story, rather they connect the fictional story with factual events that took place in history. And having them with I guess that's supposed to be President Nixon. At least he looks like Nixon. Having President Nixon in there, and also having the story about the JFK assassination, and then also talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis again in First Class. That is really, really cool. That is something that is a story element that they could have made it. They could have brought it to another direction and made it fictional, right, with a fictional president. But they didn't. They decided to have factual events, and I love that it tied into the whole mutant storyline because, man, it's kind of thought-provoking. It really makes you wonder, well, what else took place, or who else is a mutant? So, very, very cool. I was very pleased by that. That's some really clever writing in the screenwriting department. This is another thing I gotta say that I liked is that this is almost a Mystique movie. Every time that Mystique is shown, she really, she's a crowd pleaser. It's kind of like that you wished Quicksilver had as much screen time doing his thing as much as Mystique. Because Mystique is so awesome whenever she's on screen. Jennifer Lawrence just pulls it off perfectly, not just with her acting, but also her her physical abilities. Now, I'm sure there was probably like a stunt woman here and there, but still, you know what? Any scenes with Mystique where she's kicking ass is just badass. Okay, so fun to watch, so much fun to watch. All right, now here's where I find it gets a little weird. Okay, I love the fact they include mutant cameos. All right, they did it a lot in Last Stand, but the problem is that you never really know who these mutants are from the comic books. Now, one thing that I like is that they include the cameos, but we can identify them. One thing that I don't like is when they throw in these mutants, and they're just mutants, okay? Like, we don't know, like, who the heck are they in the comic book universe? I thought they pulled these characters from the comics. But then there's this one character. It's this, it's in the Vietnam scene where Mystique is rescuing them. I mean, we saw Toad, we saw Ink, we saw Havoc. But who is this this African American young mutant soldier? All right, I was thinking, is it supposed to be Spike? Is it supposed to be Quills? But all he did was just his eyes turned black. He looked at some people and then they fainted. All right, which mutant has that ability? I don't even know. If someone can let me know in the comment section below. But that's one thing I didn't like about X-Men Days of Future Past. Sure, it's a minor thing, and I'm not going to deduct points, from the score that I give it just for that. But I like it when they stick to the comics. All right, I don't like it when they draw like material that was never in the comics. So, but unless someone can identify that guy for me, then that's cool. It was great to see a Toad and Havoc. Ink was okay. I mean, I didn't really care for his character, but it was good to see that they brought characters not just from First Class, but also like a younger version of Toad from first X-Men. All right, so very, very cool. Another thing that I do like rather is that I was really surprised about the ending. The ending where like it was the end of the battle, but then the scenes that followed afterwards, that was a crowd-pleasing moment. It was a crowd-pleasing moment because this is when the audience, or rather the fans, know that Bryan Singer has pushed the reset button. All right? Because you see how everything comes together. You see how all the characters all fit into place with regards to having this linear storyline. We get to see the old Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm. That was a great moment to see them all back. I mean, you know, I almost felt the same way that Logan did, because he was all confused, and I see them all back, and then it all makes sense. Bryan Singer did a fan service to the X-Men fan community. It's awesome. So very, very cool. I love the way it ended. I'm really happy about that. Now, the one thing that I was a bit let down about, and I think a lot of people can agree, is that when Bryan Singer said that this is the Avengers of X-Men, he said this during the production of X-Men. He said this is X-Men Days of Future Past will be considered the Avengers of X-Men. I thought what he meant by that is that it's going to have the same high-flying, heroic, superhero style action that took place in the Avengers. It's not. Okay? What he meant by that, upon watching Days of Future Past, is that this is a movie which brings everybody together. The same way that Avengers brought all four, or rather all 7 of the Avengers together. I mean, if you include Nick Fury, Hawkeye, and Black Widow, right? That's what he meant by that. He bringing the best characters from the previous films into one film. That's what he meant. He didn't mean that it's going to have a spectacular, all-out battle, which is something I was a little bit disappointed about. I was disappointed about the fact that Quicksilver didn't have enough screen time. Or, I mean, you know, I wish he appeared more. I was disappointed by the fact that Wolverine was really tame in this movie. And I was mainly disappointed by the fact that you have Sentinels controlled by Magneto. Alright, these guys are literally invading Washington, D.C. Why don't you have mutants like Wolverine just clawing them to bits, have Quicksilver come in and use his super lightning speed and disable them somehow, you know, going from Sentinel to Sentinel, or even have, I don't know, Hank McCoy, or, I mean, Beast, you know, jump from Sentinel to Sentinel, tearing them apart. You know, why didn't they have that? I felt that was such a missed opportunity. You know, when you really think about the end battle, it wasn't much of an end battle. It was just really a bunch of mutants doing some things, all right, with their own agenda. Mystique was there to kill Bolivar Trask, okay? Magneto was there to make a scene, to show the world that you know, that there's a war between mutants and humans. As for the other guys, as for the good mutants, they're just there to stop Magneto. But they're not really there to fight with Sentinels. They're there to stop Magneto and stop Mystique from committing murder. All right? But there's no real battle against the Sentinels, which is kind of unfortunate because I really wanted to see, like, you know, the whole like I said, a battle. Like much like in the style of the Avengers versus the Chitauri. That's what I thought was going to happen, but we didn't get that. So maybe it was my fault for misinterpreting Bryan Singer's you know, his statement. But still, at the end of the day, this is still a great film. Okay, I just wanted a little bit more in terms of the visuals, the action. All right, it would have I would have given it a higher score for that. If he says that he's going to give us action as spectacular as the Avengers, where X-Men are going up against Sentinels in the style that the Avengers went up against the Chitauri, I could give it a 9.75 out of 10, the same score that I gave the Avengers, a 9.75 out of 10. All right, so, but I gave it a 9.25 out of 10. All right, but still a very great movie. You know what makes a great movie? Great story and great characters. Action and visuals, that's just a tool to help drive the story along. But with a great story, it keeps it very engaging, and I'm very happy about that. So thank you very much, Bryan Singer, and I'm very, very happy. Now, with regards to the end credits scene, that was pretty awesome. If you don't know what the heck was going on in there, that kid who was moving the pyramids, is Apocalypse, and this is to tease the next film. It's a young Apocalypse who is the first mutant, and this is a scene that takes place like long time ago when they're building the pyramids, okay, and they were chanting his name in a different language, but it means Apocalypse, or rather it's his actual name before he is called Apocalypse. And in the background you see the 4 horsemen, and that by seeing the 4 horsemen, it is suggesting that they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. All right, so very cool scene. I really liked it. Now the last thing I want to say is, do I have anything else that I want to cover? Oh, the Future Sentinel battle. The Future Sentinel battle was totally cool. Okay, I mean, you have all the mutants doing their thing, you know, Blink was doing her thing, and then you have Sunspot blasting fire, which was totally useless, and Iceman doing, you know, he's using his ice sled, which was awesome, but he didn't do it enough. The future battle was awesome, mainly because I think that Blink stole the show, okay? Everybody else, they did their thing. It was pretty cool. I'm glad that Storm had her moment to really throw lightning, kind of like Thor. But I think that Blink really stole the show in the future battle. She had such an awesome ability as a mutant, and I hope to see more of her in the X-Men Apocalypse. So there you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. You know, let's talk about spoilers. What did you like about X-Men Days of Future Past, and what didn't you like about X-Men Days of Future Past? And if you want to comment on any of my comments about the movie, and also if you can fill me in on who that character is it Quills, is it Spike, you know, who is that guy? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation, also follow me on Twitter, @RaginNation. My name is Alex, thanks for watching, I'll see you next time, peace. It seems to work. At least it always seems to work for the fans, but I find that it works this time around because he is the time traveler in this movie. So, him trying to convince